I'm shocked. For once, ladies and gentlemen, we have a death game anime that's not a big pile of shit. I thought we would never see the day. Truth be told, I have kind of given up on death game anime. Like, I think I enjoyed a few early on. They were super edgy, very shock value-y and everything. But I think after that, I just got kind of tired of them. They're always full of either like the super genius main character that everything goes according to Keikaku and they're super genius, or they're just surrounded by nothing but sinister characters with overly warped, derpy faces that just completely pull you out of the experience. Everybody's super cutthroat. It got tiresome. It got tiresome after some time. But no, this season we have Shiboyugi playing death games to put food on the table, a series that is actually doing a really good job of pulling me right in. And yes, a lot of that has to do with the thanks of a certain director. Yes, Sota Ueno. Yes, the director that worked on Days My Stepsister. Now, for those that did not watch Days My Stepsister, that director does an incredible job with what he's given. This guy is just very creative, very artistic. There's no shot that's kind of wasted when it comes to him. A show that was very kind of slow and methodical, like Days of My Stepsister, he managed to make something very brilliant out of it. And it seems like he's doing the same thing with this particular series. But yeah, I've watched the first 2 episodes, but the first episode was like a full hour-long episode, and this is my thoughts on it so far. Shiboyugi opens up with a girl named Yuki, who's involved in what you'd call a death game. She wakes up in this one bedroom, she goes down a hallway, she goes to this dining room where she runs into 5 other girls. Now, this isn't Yuki's first death game. She's actually done, at this point, 27 of them. This is her 28th of them. There's somebody else in the room that has done 2 of them, but pretty much everybody else in the room, this is their first go. So very quickly, she kind of gets them up to date on what's going on here. So yeah, to kind of lay out what these death games are, yes, these individuals essentially will offer themselves to go play these death games, and it's mostly just to pay bills. You have a lot of people that join it, they have debt or something like that. It does seem like one individual for this particular death game was tricked into it, but typically people, offer themselves to join these death games. And yes, they're recorded, they have these cameras everywhere, these individuals spectate and watch the whole incident, and they place bets on them. And whoever wins, it seems based on how cute they are, whoever wins, there's different, prize money for them. There's one other oddity about these death games that I need to get into, which is the preservation treatment. And that's the fact that these individuals, when they join the death game, they go through this whole process that sort of preserves their body. And the best way to explain it is that they look like they're human, like Yuki looks like a human, but inside of her, it's nothing but like cotton. They're like stuffed dolls. So yes, if they lop off an arm or something like that, it's like cotton just spews out, like you just cut off the arm of a stuffed animal, something like that. But yes, all these individuals are involved with this death game, and they have to survive it. Each session of these death games are all different. This particular one in the first episode is pretty much an escape room kind of concept where you have to get out of the building itself. Different traps, different keys that you have to find, whatnot. The second death game, which was in the second episode, that pretty much is a landmine type, is what it kind of seems like, where they have to go through these different corridors that are very dark, and there's mines in them, there's, holes and whatnot they have to worry about. Anyways, Yuki, again, mentioned the fact that she has been there 28 times. She mentioned that, hey, don't worry, I'm going to help you guys get out of here safely. It's my goal in order to make as many survive as possible because it's beneficial to me. It's not because I'm being kind, I'm not trying to trick you, it's just I want as many of you to survive as possible because, I don't know, you might end up in a death game in the future and you'll help me out. We help each other out kind of thing. And yes, she also puts a little caveat in there. You probably shouldn't trust me 100% though. I could be tricking you or something. But they kind of establish a little bit of a connection here before they start looking around, looking for keys. They find a key, somebody ends up stumbling upon a trap, ends up dead. They eventually go to this one room that has these massive, chainsaw blade things that come down on them as they have to get the key between each other in order to free themselves. One of the members ends up dying, while another member kind of blames themselves because they were too slow in getting the key over there. They eventually get to an elevator where the elevator pretty much has a weight limit on it. One of the individuals, again, feeling that she was responsible for the death of another, offers to take herself out in order for the rest of them to survive. But again, because Yuki's all about as many people surviving as possible, she stops her before kind of assuring her that, hey, even if you die, you're the skinniest out of all of us. It ain't going to help anyways. We have to lop off parts of our bodies in order to get in there. So they use that whole preservation treatment aspect to chop off parts of their bodies, but still survive. Get down the bottom, get to the exit where they discover that in order to exit, 3 people total have to die. And since only 2 people died so far, Yuki, without hesitation, quickly drops somebody that she's been helping this entire time, quickly drops somebody on the ground and just ends them right there before they walk out the door and apologizes for the loss. And that's basically the gist of the first episode. The second episode, like I mentioned before, is pretty much a mind game. It's actually Yuki's 10th game, so it does seem like we're going back in time a bit, but she's pretty much partnered up with a group that they've all been in death games together prior, so Yuki's sort of this stranger in the group, and it seems like they have an established leadership. And while Yuki is trying to help them based on her own knowledge because she has done more death games, it doesn't seem like the, leadership wants to, let her take the role. So they kind of butt heads a little bit, but they kind of do well to kind of keep moving forward until eventually they end up losing one of their members to a landmine. And Yuki, again, with her mindset of not letting anybody stay behind, she wants to bring the injured individual with them, but their leadership that they've all assigned already doesn't like that idea. Doesn't like the idea of dragging around an injured individual that will end up bringing down morale. So they end up parting ways. And that's the gist of Shiboyugi playing death games to put food on the table so far. First things first, like I said before, thank you for once a death game that I'm really, really, really enjoying. And yes, I would argue 80% of that is just by presentation alone. Just presentation alone. The directing done on this show so far is chef kiss. This director, Sota Ueno, is so freaking good at what he does. And like I said before, he did Days with My Stepsister, and that show is very slow feeling. Like the pacing, a lot of people would see as very slow. It's very quiet. It's very methodical. It's very in the moment and not trying to rush forward and really kind of sitting in these moments of these characters being still alone in a room together. He did such a great job portraying that and having those subtleties just come out of the screen, and it just sucks you in. He's doing the same thing with this show. Every shot in this show is a masterpiece. Now, granted, I have my issues with some of the shots being oversaturated and overfilled, I guess the best way to put it, where it almost looks like there's no detail put in, there's no outlines, they're just kind of blurry looking. I didn't really like those shots at first, but as I got the second episode, I'm starting to get over that. I'm starting to get used to it, but I wasn't a fan at first. I thought it was very, very distracting. And why it was distracting is because all the close-up shots of the characters is so freaking beautiful, dude. Yuki close up, all these characters close up, their eyes are so gorgeous. Studio Dean. Where is this team from Studio Dean? They're actually doing an incredible job. It's we don't get this from Studio Dean often. Very beautiful shots. The detail in the characters, the hair and everything is just gorgeous. And I love the settings they're in typically. And yes, granted, the second episode gets very dark corridor heavy. But even a lot of the shots outside of those corridors were very beautiful. And yes, all the shots in the first episode were just gorgeous. This very Victorian mansion looking setting. Everything just looks so freaking good. And that's not just the visuals, just again, the directing and how they sort of present the shots. Every shot just has feels to it. It has isolation to it. It has dread to it. It has suspense. They're pulling off suspense so freaking well. It works so well for a death game that specifically doesn't rely on the typical tropes that you get from death games. A lot of death games I feel like, and it's unfortunate, I got tired of because they're all so reliant on over-expressiveness of the characters, double-crossing, edginess. That stuff keeps your attention because you're at the edge of your seat of who's going to betray who, and it gets tiresome. It gets tiresome for me. With this one, it's not relying on that, so it has to rely on the subtleties. It has to rely on the suspense. It has to rely on the human characters that we have in this series, which really does build into sort of my first point that I want to make about outside of visuals. The characters feel real. I know it's shocking. The characters feel real. And again, they don't rely on derpy faces. They don't rely on these characters just being out of their mind constantly and just being cutthroat all the time. I felt for once watching this, I'm wait, these characters feel normal. They feel like they're just here and they just want to survive. You have a girl that's in the first game that just got tricked into it. So she's like, I don't even want to be here. How do I leave this place? I don't want to be here. Somebody's trying to take care of her and calm her down the entire time. You have this other girl who seems like an introvert. So she's not very good at speaking with other people. Again, Yuki, probably the one that's the most not normal, just because again, she's done it 27 times before they came to that room. She's done this so many times. She does seem very more overly calculative, But even still then, it doesn't seem like she's wanting to get at people. It doesn't seem like she's cutthroat. It doesn't seem like she's out of her mind, besides maybe the last shot of the first episode. Like, that was a little bit much. They seem normal. They don't seem like caricatures. They don't seem like cackling bad guys. You're not constantly going, who's going to have the derpy face next? Oh, here she goes. Cackle, cackle, cackle. You thought that I would trust you. They're very grounded, and I like that. Again, I think the directing and everything that's been portrayed so far really does carry that because it doesn't rely on that stuff. That all said, I will admit that I do have one flaw around the characters, and that's really around the fact that, and it's mainly due to how it's sort of structured so far, because it's so far 28 games, and it seems like she is focused on doing 99 total. Yuki is really the only main character, and it seems like the only character that will probably get any sort of progress. I'm certain eventually the other characters, if they do survive, could possibly join another game with her. It does seem to imply the idea, again, making sure that as many survive as possible, because I might run into another game, and I'm going to need you to help me out sometime. So it actually benefits me to make sure as many of you survive as possible. But for now, Yuki is the only character that is constant. And Yuki is the only character that we really get much internal dialogue from, besides Kinko very briefly. Yuki, I find interesting, while at the same time, I don't really care for her. Like, I don't worry for her. I don't have any connection to her. She's somebody that's very methodical because she's been through so many games. She's created her own rule systems to survive, and those rules seem to be something that she tries to stick to. The idea of not mourning the dead, the idea of not offering a prayer until you get to the end, the idea of not saying sorry out loud because it makes you look weak, all these different things that help her survive that she's even also bestowing upon other people. This rule, you need to make sure you do this, otherwise you won't survive. Watch out when you pick up certain items, that's where all the traps are. She's done this so many times, she's very methodical about what she does. It does seem like she implies that her main skill in doing these death games is the ability to see traps. And I really don't think that's sort of like a superpower, which is kind of cool. She doesn't have like a superpower or anything like that. She's not a genius. She just knows the game so well. She's got an idea of what sort of the spectators want. And she does seem like, based on especially the second episode, she makes her decisions and figures out where traps are based on what she knows they would find entertaining. So they get to this hallway, for example, and there's a camera, and it's very obvious it's sitting there. You can see the camera, so there would be a trap here, right? Well, yeah, it seems a little bit too obvious, but that's also the point. The fact that it's so obvious that a trap would be there, and you sort of second-guessing yourself, so to speak, does technically lead to it being more entertaining. It's more interesting to the viewer. So it does seem like she makes her decisions based on what would be funny, what would be fun, what would they find entertaining. That's probably where the trap's going to be. So again, it's sort of, again, based on experience, not really necessarily a superpower. And that does technically make it a lot more interesting. But again, going back to my original problem here is I don't find her overall to be somebody that I'm like, oh man, I hope she doesn't get hurt. Since she's so closed off and lacking empathy, I don't really empathize with her. I'm not constantly going, holy crap, I hope she survives, because I don't really care, because she's not really like likable. And that really kind of extends to everybody around her. I'm not going to connect with anybody because it doesn't seem like really any of them are going to carry over to the next episode. They're not going to carry over the next death game immediately. They're going to be forgotten. Again, already within the first episode, we go in the second episode, it's a new cast of characters. So I don't really find myself spending enough time to really care about anybody. Yeah, the voice acting sells me whenever they're dying. Like the whole Saw scene, it hurt because the screaming from the voice acting and the music and the sound effects and everything is just horrific. But I don't really care in the end. Now, to be fair, that might be the point. It might be the point that you're not necessarily going to care about the characters in the moment, but more so find the entertainment in following Yuki and her surviving these games, which that's where I'm getting down to currently. At the end of 2 episodes, that's been the entertainment, is really seeing how Yuki navigates people that are not familiar to her, that she doesn't necessarily trust, but she has to trust. That's where I think this is more going towards, because you can't really do much with characters in such a short amount of time to really care who dies. When the girl steps on the landmine in the second episode, shrug. What happens? How does Yuki navigate this? That ends up being sort of what is the entertainment in the end. So again, I acknowledge that that might be the formula, and it's technically working, because again, already within the first 2 episodes, I'm locked in. I've found this to be the most entertaining death game that I have experienced in, shoot, probably ever. At this point, probably ever. Other than that, the preservation treatment, I did kind of want to theorize on this quite a bit. I find it very intriguing. I am very interested as to what the actual preservation treatment is and if the individuals are even there. Because yeah, when somebody got shredded up by a saw, they basically gathered all of her cotton and her clothing, and I'm assuming skin or something, gathered it all together and stuck it in a pile to be recycled or something like that. I really do kind of wonder if that is even the body. They're there, they're sentient there, they're moving around, they're trying to survive, they're panicking, they're in pain. They do sense pain, but are they actually physically there? By the end of the first game, all of them had lopped off like at least one leg each. They lopped off, like some of them lopped off another arm. One girl lopped off both of her legs, and they get to the exit, and apparently after they exit, they get put into an ambulance, taken to the hospital, lose consciousness before they wake up in their apartment. Were they ever actually there? I have a theory around Kinko specifically from the first episode because this is a girl that blames herself for the death of another character, and she gets stuck on her own mind, and she then tries to take her own life before she has this little memory that plays in her head where she's calling out this Misuzu. She's saying how much she wants to be like Dad, and then she wakes up. And I'm like, why would you start developing a character and building into some sort of backstory just to have her die later on? Which got me to a theory that I don't think in all cases they actually die. I would assume that some of them may die, but there might be a chance that some of them might actually not die unless the game, runners actually want them to die. And that we might potentially see Kinko come in later on. Either that or this Misuzu that she mentioned might possibly, come after Yuki later on. I am Misuzu, and you, I found out, killed my sister Kinko, and I'm going to come after you, or something like that. But I do kind of wonder if death is really 100% in this game. Will we have a time where Yuki dies, and then she realizes that no, they don't actually. My theory is they're sort of like virtual reality controlling from remotely, and they're controlling a doll that's in the actual death game itself. I don't know. I think that would kind of probably loosen a lot of the impact of the deaths if that was revealed. But for now, that's kind of my going theory, is that, yeah, they think that they die, but not actuality. It's an interesting kind of little system to throw in there, for sure. But anyways, I think that's pretty much my entire thoughts. Very, very beautiful looking show. Directing is absolutely phenomenal. It's a death game that I'm actually enjoying for once. I haven't enjoyed for a long time. I'm hoping that eventually I start to like Yuki more as a character. Right now, her desire to win 99 games is not really much of not very interesting. It's like, this girl, I have all these roles and I'm going to do this 99 times and yay. It's not the most enthusiastic main character here, but I'll be interested to see exactly what they do with her character. Again, if it's just simply the idea of how she handles different moments with different people that are obviously strangers and how she navigates different conflicts with strangers, I think that's probably going to be enough for me. But I do admit that there is a side of me that kind of looks back and goes, I really just don't care who dies. And that's kind of unfortunate in a death game, but we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you found it informative. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave. I'm doing first impressions of all the shows of this season. I greatly appreciate you guys' support. If you like this content, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. But until next time, y'all take care.